his hand up and says, actually, I'm feeling like a woman today. Do you play him in the American women's national team, Francesca? Yes or no?
Yes, right now. Hell yeah, are you kidding me?
They are useful idiots like you that are validating ascientific nonsense. There's no such thing as gender identity.
Esther, you're the only thing making anyone angry or incensed right now, so you're causing me a mental health issues.
Your guests sit here and they
Caitlyn
cry
Jenner.
boo-hoo
Trans
tears
women.
about trans rights, but then they dismiss Caitlyn Jenner.
Girl,
Leo
don't you
probably knew
have a
what she was gonna say
Beyonce
on that.
album to
I
get
wanna
pissed
talk
off
about
about?
this.
Teenage runner Aiden Gallagher became the Oregon girls 200-meter state champion last week, posting one of the fastest times in the state's history with a remarkable display of power and stamina. But as Aiden crossed the finish line, something, well, pretty unusual happened. Instead of joyous cheering and adulation, many of the watching spectators...
I got to say, this is a pretty touchy subject, and I'm glad that Piers took this on his show because I really think it's not talked about enough, and men need to step up to give women their rights back, because there's a lot of women being violated right in front of our face. Even our kids have to choose to compete against men, and it's pretty much a cover-up, however you look at it. And there's a reason why there are two different genders. Anyhow you look at it, you can say you are whatever you are. There's two genders. That's it. And the fact that they allow these men to compete against women, it's been diabolical, and it needs to change. And men need to step up and make that change. Even here in Connecticut a few years ago, there were kids that end up filing lawsuits because they would just imagine your daughter's the number one in the state, and she loses 3 events, and all of them are against another man. He can say he is what he is, but all of a sudden now, to Piers.
Spectators loudly booed. Well, the same thing happened when Gallagher received a gold medal on the podium, but the runner-up was loudly cheered when she received her silver. And there's an explanation for all this. Gallagher is a transgender athlete who was born a biological male and therefore has a vastly superior physiology to show for it. And as viral video clips from the race show, Gallagher...
Now look at that. You could see even that, excuse me, even though he identify as a woman, look at his body mass compared to the woman. Look at his body mass, that physical specimen of a man. You can see the cuts in the body. Come on, ladies, don't get dragged into this. Women cannot compete against men ever. You know what? We should have 3 genders if y'all want to go with a third, but they only could compete amongst themselves. But they should never be able to win over a woman.
Towered over many of the competing girls, displaying greater height, power, and speed that frankly made a mockery of any pretense to fairness or equality. The reaction of the crowd is a small moment in the grand scheme of things, but it might prove to be extremely significant. A couple of years ago, it would have been very different. This would have been hailed as he led his progressive symbolic victory for inclusivity and tolerance. But now mainstream opinion is finally waking up to what is honestly insane. World Athletics has banned trans athletes who've been through male puberty from competing against women. But the state-level bureaucrats are miles behind. The Oregon authorities say they define a woman based on their consistently asserted gender identity. But honestly, that's just disingenuous bullshit. Yes, trans people deserve the same rights and respect as everybody else. They should have fairness and equality. They should have the same human rights as me. But you can't consistently assert the massive physical differences that come from being born male or female and compete in sport. Those rights cannot come at the expense of women's rights to fairness and equality in their own sport. Now, for years, anyone prepared to speak up about this, like me, was instantly shamed and vilified as a transphobe. But the reaction of the crowd in Oregon, which is actually skews more liberal.
I'm 100% with Morgan on this, and I don't see how more people aren't speaking up, more men aren't speaking up, because right in front of our face, women are being degraded. Women are being, a lot of people say, well, this is women's fault because they wanted the women's rights and whatever, but this is something else. Our kids are suffering from this. And if we don't do something now to change it, it's just going to get worse. And we need to stop thinking that cis women or whatever you want to name you want to put in front of a man is a woman. No. If he was born with genitalia, he's a man. XY, whatever you want to say. Man, well, there's only two genders, man and woman. That's it. That's it.
The Conservative shows the silent majority might finally be fighting back and letting their feelings be heard loud and clear. Well, joining me to debate this and more are comedian and podcaster James Barr, uncensored contributor Esther Krakow, Outkick host Tony Laren, and the host of the Bituation
party
World podcast, Francesca Fiorentini. So welcome to all of you. Tommy, let me start with you. I watched a video of this as a father of a 12-year-old girl who loves a bit of sport. And honestly, my heart just sank. But when I heard the booing, I was thrilled, not because the athlete was being booed. I felt awful for the trans athlete, but because I finally felt that the silent majority were finding their voice. What did you think?
Yeah, I also think that it's big that this happened in a place like Oregon. Oregon is not conservative, maybe certain parts, but certainly the majority of Oregon is certainly more on the left side. So I think the fact that the crowd is saying, hey, this is unacceptable, that's a big moment. But we just have to stop denying this, Piers. I mean, the silent majority, and I would agree that the majority, actually, the more vocal majority now, is saying that this is absolutely ludicrous. And listen, I think we need to stop talking about biological men competing against biological women in women's sports. This is a trans person, a trans woman competing against actual women.
Oregon is so liberal, they didn't even want black people living in the state.
Stop dismissing women by calling us biological women. We are just women. So I want to put that out there first.
Yeah, I agree.
Why are we constantly, and when I say we, why is popular culture constantly asserting that trans people, their feelings, their emotions, their inclusion is more important than the majority of women who just want to have fairness, want to compete, want to have achievements, accomplishments, and opportunities? Why do their feelings matter more than the feelings of the women that they're competing against? It's ridiculous. We keep coddling and kowtowing to this madness. I hope we're seeing the end of it, and I think within the next couple of years we will.
Yeah, I mean, I'm amazed that every woman, frankly, doesn't agree with you, because the unfairness and inequality is so obvious. But Francesca, I can see you actually going berserk here with indignation. So presumably you don't agree.
I mean, I just please don't speak for me.
You already know she's gonna be problems when her action shows exactly how she's gonna operate and behave. And her first comment is, "Don't speak for me." Let's do it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, either of you, please don't speak for me.
Like, as a woman, how could you defend what's happening? Like, really? This is really where we at, where we just turning our backs on our gender? Well, what's going on? Really?
Please don't speak for all women. Just let's get that out of the way right now, because I do disagree. I think about, what if your 12-year-old kid was Aiden? Wouldn't that be incredible? Wouldn't you be proud of Aiden?
No.
And how much would it?
No, absolutely not. Unless that child had not even reached puberty, and in the case of my daughter, for example, and someone is trying to convince her that if you just put your hand up and say that you're a boy, you can suddenly compete against a different biological sex. I'd say it's all madness.
Piers, this is what's crazy about it. Do you think that that's what's driving trans women to compete as athletes, is that they're like, if I transition to become a woman, I can win a gold medal in a high school track and meet competition.
Well, no, hang on, Francesca. I don't care.
That is so absurd to me. It's the same thing. Hang on, let me speak.
I don't care. the reality is they're doing it, right? And the point is that to me, the answer is obvious.
They're not
They
doing
either
it to win a medal. They're doing it because that is their identity.
But they're winning
and that
medals
is-
at the expense of
Right.
actual women who can't compete with them physically.
Okay.
It's why,
Can I
it's
just
why
say,
we
I'm
separate the
embarrassed.
sexes.
You know what? Like I actually googled
I'm
this. So, like,
embarrassed to be a woman.
hang on. I'll come to you too.
I'm embarrassed to be a woman when I see women freaking out about trans women
Wow.
winning one out of so many
It's not
competitions.
just one.
Okay,
It's happening
Let's
in
just
swimming with Leah
hang
Thomas.
on, hang
It's
on,
happening in all
hang
sorts
on.
of sports.
yes, because it makes us look really pathetic, honestly. It makes us look like losers and whiners. And guess what? I'm not a loser or a whiner. You know what I actually want to talk about when it comes to women's sports? Why is Caitlin Clark being paid 80 times less than her?
You see how she deflected anything he just asked her and just took it somewhere else? Like, and she's already lost the argument because I already heard what she's about to say. And she's about to try to compare women's sports to men's sport. You know, I already could tell she's hitting an issue.
Her counterpart entering the NBA.
Well, that's
because
quite
She's like a Rambler / Karen. I can see it already.
she's in the
straightforward too.
WNBA.
Because nobody watches
Women
it.
don't want to talk about that.
Hold on. Can I ask you a
Women don't
question?
Real women
Hold on,
understand.
Francesca, let me ask you a
Nobody
question.
watches
If
it.
I hit you over the head with a bat and I said the plan wasn't to kill you, it's because you had a fly in your head, would you still not go to the police for assault? Does my intention matter? Because that's exactly what you just
I'm just
said.
trying to Rube
What-
Goldberg,
That's exactly
whatever
what
the
you
hell
just
it is
said.
you're saying.
That's exactly
No,
what you
I'm
just
with
said.
you.
Just because trans people are not
Do you know what?
identifying as trans to basically erode women's sports, that makes it okay. That's exactly what they're doing. This is
You think that's what they're
absolutely
doing?
I
You
wanna
think
say
you
something.
think
Hang on,
trans
don't
people
talk over
were
each
put
other.
on Earth
Let me finish.
to
You know what the
sneak
issue
attack
is?
women's
You know what
sports?
the
Don't
issue
talk
what
is?
you
over each
think?
other.
You know what the
Let
issue
Esther
is?
Very
finish her
funny to
point.
me.
You
then
know
can
what the
respond,
issue is?
Francesca.
They are useful idiots like you that are validating ascientific nonsense. There's no such thing as gender identity.
Damn. She just right to the point. Useful idiots like really? Wow. What's the hate? Whoa. I thought we were just having a friendly debate, friendly fade, you know.
Being trans identifying is a mental illness, a reality that exists only in your head, should not be validated, and specifically not at the expense of people that are just going about their business trying to win sporting tournaments or trying to use
There's
a loo.
useful
And
idiots
if
like you that are leading to the
if
death
you
of trans
feel
people.
embarrassed
Because
about
guaranteed,
people
All right, let
thinking
Francesca
anything,
respond.
then you can basically go to an island where all women think.
He reminded me of the old time when we used to have Jerry Springer on, and he's just in the middle, just refereeing it because he's eating his stuff up. Like the more stuff goes on, the more he gets ugly. Let's see it.
Like you, and you can compete with all the biological men you want, but do not impose your backward views on the rest of us and have the
Wow.
audacity to call us regressive.
Okay, Francesca, you respond. Then I'll
Regressive,
come to
all right.
James.
My response is this. Look, I care more about human life and people actually. I care about the right to privacy. I care about people
Really?
surviving and living in this world. Yes, I do.
You don't seem to care about the right to privacy of biological women not wanting to share their spaces with biological men. What about them?
What about the number of trans youth who
No,
commit
hold on.
suicide
Don't play.
every single
what
year?
about
Deflection.
biological women
Hey,
not
hey,
wanting to
useful
share a
idiot.
bathroom with a
Hey,
biological man?
shut
Talk about
up
that.
half a
Don't do what
second.
about. Answer that question. What about them? Do they not matter?
Look, lady, you can go into every bathroom and pick a fight with every person who you think is in
With
the
a
wrong
penis?
bathroom. That's
If
your
a
prerogative.
man goes into a
I'm
bathroom with
talking
my
about
daughter,
a teenager.
what should I do?
A teenager being booed. Guys, let's not bully, okay? I believe it was Melania Trump who said, "Be best," and we know what bullying leads to. Stephen Miller.
You know-
okay?
you know-
So
you know
we
what
don't
it
wanna
is?
see more of
Okay,
them.
Any man out there, do you want another man in the bathroom with your daughter at any point in time? Really?
but Francesca, I'm going to
look.
come to James, but because to me, it's conflating two issues. You can absolutely support trans rights to fairness and equality,
Fact.
as I do,
You can.
and consistently have. But you can also see that there is obviously a massive problem now, increasing now in women's sport, and there's a reason. And we've had this conversation, James, but
It's a huge
you gave a
problem.
preposterous answer last time. There's a reason we separate sexes in the Olympics. in the
Fact.
World Championships. Because
Definitely a
otherwise,
reason.
women would never win anything.
Look, I
Right?
think
Not a
So that's
goddamn
why we
thing.
do it. It's not because women aren't great athletes.
women would never
They're great
win
athletes
anything.
when competing
What a quote,
against people
Piers.
physically born
Listen,
like
I
them.
have so much to say. I want to explode.
He's about to
Go ahead.
argue that.
Firstly, Esther, you're the only thing making anyone angry or incensed right now. So you're causing me a mental health issue. So really, if there's a
Wow.
mental
Maybe you
illness,
could- you
it's
could
actually
join your friend- your
I would
pronoun
like to take a
friends.
pill
You can all be
to
mentally
remove
unwell
you
together.
from my life.
Yay.
The
Going
baby
back to
babs.
the state here, like most of the female
Punch,
winners
punch.
in this sport, they are hitting around 22 to 24 seconds, which is exactly what the gold medalist won here. And then also following up with what you said.
What's your
Esther,
point? What's your
So
point?
My
he
point
slowed-
is,
he
this is
slowed
normal
down.
for a
So he
woman.
No, you're
slowed
This is
missing
the
the
down.
normal
point.
speed for a woman
No.
in a race.
You're
But
missing-
let's get back to what you're
No,
saying.
hang
You're
on, no.
talking about
Hang
women's
on.
safety in
Hang on.
changing rooms.
Hang
Let me
on.
finish, please.
On that
You're
point-
talking about women's safety in changing rooms. That's what Esther
Which
brought
you
this
know nothing
conversation
about,
down
because
to.
you're not
But
a
what I
woman.
do know about is that 1 in
Oh.
3 women in America are abused violently in their lifetime. And in every single day in America, 13,000 women are a victim. Why are we talking about
Excuse
one
me.
trans woman
Excuse me.
being
How
in a
dare
changing
you?
room?
How
Okay.
dare you, a man, say anything about women feeling unsafe
I am
in
allowed to talk
bathrooms
about safety.
with biological men? No, you can't, because you're not a woman. You have never had a period. You've never been a woman
What
in a
I'm
woman's
saying,
toilet.
Esther, is
so
that
don't
you're
even mention
picking
that.
on one. Well,
I'm not picking on that. I'm talking about the fact that women around the world
Sorry.
are being affected because we're validating
Okay.
a
so, but
scientific
wait, you're
nonsense.
shouting a biological.
I'm agreeing with the woman on this. How y'all feel about this? Like this is not his argument. Like, why are we arguing about this? Really? Like, why does men have to be in the bathroom with a woman?
Men,
Hang
your
on,
words. Why
hang
am
on.
and you're allowed to talk about biological men. So
I'm
why am
talking
I not
about
allowed to talk
women.
about
I'm talking
women?
about
Hang on,
women.
So
hang
am
on,
I.
hang on,
I'm talking
hang
about
on.
spaces.
We are conflating various issues here. So let's get back to the actual issue we want to debate, which is the issue of this young sophomore, Aidan Gallagher. I come back to Tommy here. You know, I know this debate always inspires everyone to get very angry, and there's lots of allegations of transphobia and so on. I really think they're missing the central point. There is a reason we separate sexes in sport.
There is.
And the reason, like I said, when the Olympics are in Paris later this summer, if you allowed women and men to compete in a generalized way, then women would win almost no medals. Literally, other than 1 or 2 events, possibly equestrian, possibly
Yep.
archery.
Maybe.
There are very few things which anything that
Very
involves
few.
power or stamina
Washing
or
up.
speed or no.
Piers, can I ask you a question really quickly?
Yes.
Because have you ever undergone any kind of like hormone replacement therapy?
Oh,
No.
you mean chopped off his penis? Because
No,
that's
I
what-
haven't.
Hang
No.
on, hang on. I'm not talking to you, Esther. Hang
Yeah.
on.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm talking to Piers
Yeah.
because actually the body does undergo an incredible amount of toil.
What it doesn't
when
do,
you actually-
Francesca, I've heard this
Hang on,
argument.
hang on.
It doesn't
but
change. It doesn't change your body mass.
No,
Hello,
doesn't-
Piers.
no, it doesn't.
It does.
No,
it
it
absolutely
doesn't.
can change your body
No, it
mass.
doesn't.
Absolutely. The
It
amount
doesn't.
of
You
hormones
remain
that
as
can-
muscular.
it
You know, I know
drains-
this. Talk to someone like Caitlyn Jenner,
Piers.
who was, as a man,
Oh my God.
was the decathlon gold medal winner for the United States of America, and was then, when she took up golf, having transitioned, was told she could tee off
Asking Caitlyn
from the
Jenner-
women's tees. Right, the women's tees are 50 yards further ahead than the men's, and she said she was winning every tournament.
Asking Caitlyn Jenner for any advice or practical information is like asking you, Piers, for how to get a 6-pack. Like, what are we doing?
Actually, I've got quite an impressive,
Very true.
growing 6-pack as my.
He just dissed Pierce on his own show, or tried to at least. These guys are pretty fiery. Like, this is normal. Let it go.
Okay,
The
we'll tell
point
you.
is
Let
that
me-
your
let me
body
come to-
undergoes a lot of
Interesting.
changes.
Let me come to
It's actually
Tommy.
incredibly
Piers,
difficult
I
to
want to
compete.
point this out.
Tommy.
Piers, I want to point this out because your guests here, I mean, talk about the snake eating its own tail. They're sitting there talking about trans rights and affirming transgender ideology, but then they're saying that Caitlyn Jenner, who is probably the most famous trans person, that doesn't count.
Yeah.
Because Caitlyn Jenner is not only a Republican, but Caitlyn Jenner also calls out biological men competing in women's sports. So your guests sit here and they
Caitlyn
cry
Jenner.
boo-hoo
Trans
tears
women.
about trans
Trans women,
rights,
please.
but then they dismiss Caitlyn Jenner. It's amazing.
Pick and choose who they want to be mad at. Whoever's against their gender, get out. They're against it.
These are also the same people who claim to be feminists, but also don't care about actual women being robbed of opportunities.
Yeah.
That's why liberalism is a disease, and you can just let these people talk and they argue with themselves, Piers.
The point is, if Aidan Gallagher
Also agree.
competed according to their biological sex, they would not be succeeding. They wouldn't be winning state championships. They would actually not even be qualifying for the finals. That is the point everyone's missing.
Piers,
is that actually
why do you care about
women's integrity, women's sport?
But you don't. Have you done a segment on Caitlin Clark and pay disparity? Have you done where were you when the U.S. women's national team?
He doesn't need
Actually,
to.
well, A, you have no idea.
He doesn't need to do a
Esther,
segment.
Well, hang
shut
on.
up, Esther.
Francesca,
Oh my
you
God.
have no
Oh my
idea,
God.
actually.
Shut up.
You have no
But
idea
Piers,
what I said
about
about
when
women's
the women's
pay.
national? What about when the women's national team wins in the United States, right? They've won like 4 times at this point. And what happens? Oh, Megan Rapinoe, who is both a lesbian and also like one time knelt during the national anthem. She's not a real patriot. They freak out. Donald Trump tweets about her.
No, you're
Everyone-
missing Megan
women-
Rapinoe.
Can I just
Megan
say-
Rapinoe is a very, very good football player, but also incredibly irritating. And I noticed that when she retired, it was only then she said that she wanted trans women to be playing in the American women's national team. In other words, when it wasn't possible for that person to take her position. Because here's a scenario for you. Lionel Messi puts his hand up and says, actually, I'm feeling like a woman today. Do you play him in the American women's national team, Francesca? Yes or no?
Lionel Messi
Layla
had to
Messi.
undergo an incredible,
Yes or no?
he had to undergo an incredible amount of treatment when he was young. He had a bunch of like.
Would you allow him
all
to
kinds
put
of
his hand up,
medicine and
say he's a
everything in order
woman,
for
and
him
play
to
in the
actually
American
grow,
women's
'cause he had a
national
growth
team?
spurt. I'm a big Messi fan, so. But let me just.
This is where the delusional comes in. Now he's the host, and she's still going. She hasn't answered the question yet.
explain this to
Answer
you.
my question. Would you allow him, if he said I'm a woman, to play in the American
Well, you're
women's
using
national
the wrong
team?
pronoun
Yes, yes,
Piers.
yes, right now. Hell yeah. Are you kidding me?
Wow.
Messi on the U.S. women's national team? Hell yeah.
Would you
because
allow
that would
Usain
mean-
Bolt to do that and be in the sprinting
Yes,
team?
because that would mean they're a trans woman. They identify as
I
women.
get it. I
You
get
would
it.
have to
So just to be clear,
People like her are the ones that believe that everyone deserve a medal. People like that. They believe everyone deserve a medal. And that's not how life works. That's not how life works. If people like this is allowed to run society, we'll get overran. And this is how we get captured. People like with mind thinking like that. For sure. Let's get back to Piers.
position.
you'd let Lionel Messi play in the women's national football team and destroy
Hell yeah,
women's football
welcome.
forever. You'd let
I mean,
Usain
it'd be
Bolt.
very difficult
Hang on.
to get a ticket,
Hang on.
which
You
would suck.
I want to do a little checklist here. You'd let Usain Bolt compete as a sprinter in the American women's Olympic team.
Yes.
Okay. You would
Yes.
let Floyd Mayweather compete as a boxer in the women's American boxing
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
You
of
are
course
a
you have to be
complete
like the
and utter
heavyweight.
lunatic.
I completely agree
Lunacy.
with I agree with Francesca, and I go
They
further.
would
actually,
have
Piers.
to
You always,
transition.
Piers,
lunacy.
you always say that you want to be a penguin. I would let you live at London Zoo in a cage like the rest
You
of the
know
penguins.
what? I'd be a very popular exhibit.
You would. And you'd be
Esther,
locked up
Esther,
would.
here's the
for
problem.
the
It
rest
is
of the world.
so delusional. The idea you would let Usain Bolt say, I'm a woman, and compete against women on a racetrack when no man can compete with him, right? It's utterly ridiculous.
Well, I'm just convinced that they don't actually believe this, but to the logical conclusion of their ludicrous arguments facilitates the need to actually say these things. Also, this is a testament to the poor quality of public education in both the US and the UK, that you both don't understand the basic economics of how sports entertainment works.
Yeah.
If there are not enough bums on seats, you don't get paid enough. That's literally it.
That's
So
it.
sitting there outraged about the fact that some female players don't make as much as some male athletes, guess what? Go and buy the tickets to their games and start boosting up their viewing figures, and then maybe we
Caitlin
Look at the
Clark
numbers.
got
I think
more
Francesca's
views.
Look at the
Got-
revenue for the
Caitlin-
Women's World Cup and compare it to the Men's World Cup. They are light years away.
Can I say
It's
one
light
thing?
years
Caitlin
away.
Clark was the most watched women's college player ever. The ratings were through the roof. She's getting sponsorships.
compare it to the
left and
average
right.
male
She-
college viewership.
Okay, we're
Compare
going to
it
move
to
on.
that.
She
Look,
had more
Women's
views
we're
than
moving
them.
we are moving on to
This one was mainly topic around women's sports and women's athlete competing against transgender men, and there's no way as a man you can sit there and say, oh yeah, a man competing against a woman, even with medication, it's still not right. We need to do better, guys. It's up to men to stand up and change this, because our women coming up are suffering. And if we don't make a change, it's going to hurt them even more. Peapod Cove out.